Well, good morning, folks. Welcome to the Rangers Reviews morning briefing this Friday, looking back, obviously, at all the events of last night following defeat in Prague, joined by both Derek and Jonny this morning. I'll start with you, Derek. First reactions to that game last night?
How long have you got? Wasn't the best, was it? It was hard to watch at times. I think Rangers were rather fortunate to come away with just a 1-0 defeat. Lots of big talking points I'm sure we'll touch on defensively and offensively, not to mention off-field issues as well. Yeah, so plenty to get our teeth stuck into.
Yeah, and Jonny, your first reactions having slept on the game the night before?
I actually wasn't as downhearted as Derek was. I think, like in the last few games, there have been slight grass shoots in some of Rangers' play.
Yep.
I'm not as downcast as I was, for example, after the Dundee United game, or even after the Lyon game, to be honest, because the defensive frailties that came up in the second half were very much a byproduct of the lack of Connor Goldson, of Calvin Bassey being new to the position. There was other issues throughout the game, like Bassey's inability to head the ball, which was a bit bizarre given his physical profile. So defensively, while Rangers were dreadful for 25 minutes or 20 minutes in that second half, right at the very start of the second half, I wouldn't criticise Steven Gerrard too much for that. It's a completely makeshift back four, so that doesn't worry me so much. And Rangers were quite threatening without ever actually creating really dyed-in-the-wool, top-class XG chances.
Mm-hmm.
But there was Fashion Sakala, I thought, showed a lot throughout the game, although he's still got a bit of work to do. He's still got a lot of development to have. And there was moments when Rangers knocked the ball about really, really well. So I'm trying to be as fair and balanced as I possibly can.
I sort of disagree with a lot of that, to be honest.
Fire in!
Over to you. You go, Derek, then I'll have my say on it. We'll get right into it.
Right, defensively, yeah, it was a shambles in the second half. There's no doubt about it. I think you can cut them, Balogun and Bassey, a little bit of slack based on the fact that they've not played together at all. It just shows you how much you miss Connor Goldson. But you defend from the front at times. Rangers never held the ball up well enough. Fashion Sakala, for me, not doing nearly enough for Rangers at this level. I've not seen anything so far from him that suggests he's going to be a success so far. I know we need to give him time and what have you, but he's just too raw and rash. He needs to hold the ball up better. He needs to learn the offside rule as well. A number of times he was caught offside, which, I mean, it's simple stuff, really. I think Rangers missed the physical presence of Morelos. I know he's not been in form, as have a number of players, but you really miss that physical presence up top. Apart from that, I mean, the first 25 minutes, I thought Rangers were knocking the ball about pretty well, creating opportunities. Of course, Balogun's had that header, and they looked to be doing okay, and then the goal sort of rocked them. And then from then on, it was a bit sort of samey what we've seen already this season. Lack of real cutting edge in front of goal. You've seen the XG figures, Joshua, 0.3. It just shows you that they're not really carving any real opportunities in front of goal as well. So a lot more improvement needs to come from this Rangers side. But we keep saying it, they're going to spark into life. And I know Steven Gerrard's mentioned that in his press conference this morning. But the longer it goes on, you just think, when is this going to happen? I know they've had to change the side a number of times, and he's mentioned that as well, which is understandable given COVID and injuries and what have you. It's been very stop-start, but yeah, Hibs is going to be a massive game on Sunday, and they'll fancy their chances.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of tend to go more with that glass half full last night in terms of, I think if you look at the first 25 minutes, I thought Rangers did, again, middle to front and defensive worries aside, because of Calvin Bassey isn't going to play that role unless they're down to the bare bones. I think the only other option would have been putting James Tavernier into that position. I thought what really changed the game in a negative sense for Rangers in many ways was Joe Aribo moving back into midfield. Not because he didn't do a good job in midfield, but I just think the lack of Aribo and Bakuna's pace in those little moments made a big difference. I thought I tend to not be one who favours Aribo in that front line. But I thought he was really good for that first 20 minutes. And if you look at the kind of race chart, it's just different second half to first half. The high quality chances that, as you mentioned, because of the kind of gaps in the defence, and I also thought Rangers struggled to combat the runs from midfield that we knew Sparta were gonna offer. They didn't really seem to be too much of an ability to compensate for that. But that first 20 minutes, I thought was a lot brighter, and I think the thing that is evident with this team when they've not been playing well this season is the tempo isn't quite there. And I thought again for that first 25 minutes that tempo was there. Johnny, let's speak about Rangers in front of goal. As Derek mentioned, 0.3 xG, 0.19 of that came from Leon Balogun from 3 headers. I think the other chance off the top of my head is Fashion Sakala's kind of snapshot from the edge of the box, and Yanis Hadji had one from outside the area when he probably should have played through Morelos that had a very low xG rating as well. I mean, there was Stephen Gerrard again said this morning that he wanted the pace and power of Sakala. I thought Sakala, again, I agree, showed moments. It's not quite there, but I think you could see they needed the ability in that front three to go in behind, and he was the only option without Kent. That's the reality of it. What did you make of that front three? What did you make of Rangers in the final third?
Well, again, just looking very, very briefly at StatsBomb while you were talking there, Joshua, we have this issue again with 2 Rangers strikers in almost exactly the same position in the pass network. So it's an average position map that shows you where the players position themselves on average throughout the game. And you've got Kemar Roof and Junior Fashion Sakala basically on top of each other, which is it's becoming a bit of a consistent theme with certainly with Roof and Morelos when they play together. So that's a bit worrying for me that role on the left is kind of becoming an adjunct number 9. I don't think that's given Rangers the kind of the width and the dynamism that they need when they're basically on top of each other in terms of position. And obviously, it doesn't manifest itself in the game that they're standing in the same place. But just in terms of where they are, I mean, it just, to me, it means they're taking up positions that are just a little bit too similar. I don't know what you think, Joshua.
Yeah, I mean, I think it all really comes down to as well the fullbacks not performing, because Rangers want to attack really in a front 5, sometimes a front 6.
Yeah.
And as you know, as any supporter who's watched Rangers the last few years will know, the width's meant to come from those fullbacks. But I think in the form that Tavernier and Barisic are in, they're not able to kind of do the roles that they've formed through their good performances in this team. So I agree. I mean, I think in a front 3 you want the ability to go round through and around, through and over. I think that's why Sakala was in, to offer a threat in behind. As I say, I thought Joe Aribo started quite well. I thought Kemar Roof had flashes, but he's not. It wasn't his best game, but I think it was quite a hard game probably for him to get into.
But Rangers need more from him as well, because they brought him in to perform in these big games, and he's tonight. Well, last night was the real chance for him to shine, and he failed to. So Rangers really need. I mean, it's not just Kemar Roof and Fashion Sakala, but there's a whole host of players that are off form at the moment. Yanis Hadji came on and was pretty anonymous. And Rangers are looking to these players to make a difference. Stephen Gerrard always says it's these big moments that decide games, and these are players that can create these moments and take them, but they're not doing so just now, which is frustrating, because we know they can. We've seen it last season and numerous occasions in Europe that they've provided these big moments, and they're just not doing so against. I mean, last night Sparta Prague aren't a great side for me. That they're decent, but Rangers sort of made them look good at times. I felt last night, and they were makers of their own downfall. Do you take any positives last night, Derek, in terms of Rangers in that first 20 minutes, middle to front, or is it just, or they're not enough green shoots for you? What do you think? Yeah, no, it was quite an enjoyable watch. Even when they went behind, I would say that they were still going. I think that when they came out that second half, it was bonkers. They were all over the place. The gaps in the back 4 were just, it was alarming to say the least. I'm not too sure if that's just simply a concentration issue or
I think it's. Did he not ask them to push up and press really high up the pitch at the start of the second half.
Yeah, well, yeah, but it's one of those. You go chasing the game and you get caught at the back, aren't you? So it's one of those where you just hope that Connor Golson's going to be back for Sunday. I think there's an outside chance, but it just shows you how much you miss him. I know he himself hasn't been as scintillating best as he was last season, but he's sort of the glue that holds that back four together, if you like, and just shows you how much the Rangers miss his presence back there. But yeah, there weren't too many positives, I would say. Alan McGregor, I thought, had a good game, deservedly man of the match. Saved Rangers again, as he has done on a number of occasions. But for me, as I mentioned earlier, you defend from the front, and the forward players have to do more. They've never done enough for me.
Listen, Derek, I know we're disagreeing constantly, which is probably good for this, but I didn't think there was a problem with defending from the front. I thought Sakala worked his backside off.
Yeah, 21 pressures, Sakala.
It's all right working hard, but he's. I'm expecting more from. He just seems a bit rash. He doesn't hold the ball up well enough for me. I don't think he's got a. There was one time I think Tavernier played the ball out to him out wide, and it was a real chance. Rangers, I think Tavernier opened him up, and he's played the ball to Sakala, and he's just basically ran into the Sparta Prague defender. He's got no real skill. Like maybe a Ryan Kent would show a wee step over and get by him.
I think that's a fair point. He doesn't really have a trick, or he doesn't seem to anyway, which is maybe a flaw in his game. Listen, I wrote about this last night, Derek, and I kind of agree with you to some extent about Sakala. You know, while I think he's got a lot of potential and will need to be moulded, he is really raw. You're spot on about that, and he does need a fair bit of work to make him the player that Rangers need him to be. And I think this ties into what Gerrard was saying in the presser today, first thing this morning, when he was talking about, we've not spent any money in the last two windows. Now, that's not strictly accurate because they did spend money to bring in Scott Wright. And obviously, they've signed players on free transfers on wages. So, not spent any money. I think like Aberdeen and Hibs and teams like that would balk given the salary that John Lundstrom and Fashion Sakala are on. But I can kind of understand where he's coming from in terms of going out and getting finished articles to put into this side that are better than what he has. But listen, we've said this loads of times on this video. This was a problem that Celtic had under Brendan Rodgers. How do you go and get another Kieran Tierney that's anywhere? You can't do it. Like, how do you go and get a Stuart Armstrong? You can't do it when they leave because they are better than what you can afford to buy. And Rangers have this problem. As you look at that first 11 from last year, who's the guy you can go and get that's obviously better than those players? For example, in the Scottish Premiership, there is no one. You can say, well, we like this Banamgimi guy, and we think Calvin Ramsey at Aberdeen might be a good player, but realistically, are they better? No, they're not, right? So you've got to go away to foreign leagues to go and get someone that's better, and you have to basically go and mine a bargain, someone who's ready to come in immediately and make a huge difference. Yeah. So someone like a Furuhashi, for example, who did that for Celtic, that's a 1 in 100 shot. That, I mean, it's so rare. When was the last time we had a Rangers player come in and just hit the ground running like boom?
Probably think Morelos. That's it, really.
It doesn't happen very often. They normally take time to settle in, and especially in such a well-organised, well-drilled team, although maybe it's not looking that well-drilled at the moment, but it is. That's been drilled over 3 years. To fit into that all of a sudden, just like that, to have the quality to get in there, it's so difficult from a transfer market point of view. So, listen, I totally understand why Steven Gerrard feels that way, and I think he has got a point, Rangers would have to go out and spend 10, 11, 12 million, 9 million, 8 million to go and get a player that they would be confident, a Joey Veerman type, to come into this squad and improve it.
Yeah, it's easy saying that, but we need to remember the situation with the no fans last season and the lack of money coming in with regards to that, and players not being sold with regards to the trading model. So also,
100%.
you need to factor all that in, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's why they haven't spent. That's why they haven't spent money. I am not being critical of the Rangers board on that at all. If they don't have the money generated, they should not spend it. Rangers have been through enough in the past that we all understand what happens when you overstretch yourself, and nobody wants to see that ever again. So, no, it's not a criticism, but it's more just a statement of fact and understanding that Steven Gerrard is saying, and he's an expert, that the Europa League standard has improved. I'm not sure I buy that, but I don't think Sparta Prague are better than Benfica or better than. Are they any better than even Antwerp? Are they even? You know, I wasn't. But then
you see last night, Legia Warsaw beating Leicester. And you think Rangers beat them, you know what I mean? It just shows you that.
Yeah. Well, I guess there's no binary, is there? It's just a lot of good teams, and it's interesting that Gerrard makes those comments as well, because he's not one to really come in and make comments like that, and because that is him suggesting really that he would have liked maybe a higher quality of player, or another high quality player to come in. And I guess with the Veerman discussion, maybe like when Kent came in after Europa League qualification a couple of years ago, it must have been, based on the Champions League. You've got to suspect. But listen, we'll move on to more depressing matters. Johnny, there was audible booing of Glen Kamara when he got the ball last night. In the stadium. We know it's been well documented, well covered that it was 10,000 school children that were in the stadium. It was quite a horrific thing to watch on TV, and I think Gerrard's comments this morning again sum it up. They want action from people higher up, and they're calling for it, as they did when this a similar incident happened, obviously back in March.
Yeah, it really was depressing, and actually in a way, it was more important than the football match last night that Glen Kamara is well looked after, and having basically been targeted for reporting racism.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what we're talking about here. This is the standard. He was booed because he had the temerity to actually stand up to a racist. And it's a horrible indictment on basically the situation in the Czech Republic and the narrative around that incident, which we all know because we've read it, has been, well, there was no evidence. And to have 14-year-olds and under in that stadium just relentlessly boo the player was deeply disheartening. And if the idea was that the punishment for the abuse of the Monaco player be first of all, a closed stadium and behind closed doors, and then moved to, we'll bring children in. And the notion was presumably we'll show hope in the next generation. Well, that hope turned into a nightmare. And it really was extremely disheartening to view it on the TV, watching the pictures come back. And you just got to hope that Glen Kamara can shrug it off and move on. But it's not what we want to see, and it's about time UEFA were more than toothless on this matter. And frankly, both Prague clubs need to be dealt with because the level of racism that we're seeing from both of them is disgusting in 2021, and it needs to be stamped out with zero tolerance.
Yeah, I absolutely echo that. And Gerrard said this morning that he spoke to Kamara last night, and obviously Kamara has been through such a difficult thing just months ago. So I think the whole Rangers support will be again showing their support to him, and in complete agreement with the club that more needs to be done so that players don't have to go into situations and play, doing their job, playing games, and having to preempt or worry that such situations might take place. I think, and Derek, on the red card aside, the red card is an isolated incident. It was incredibly soft, wasn't it?
Yeah. Both yellow cards. Maybe the first one I could see why he's given it. The second one's an absolute joke. And you're wanting the referee to be strong there. I felt the referee was poor at times. And then you hear that he was roundly cheered when he was walking off. He just really felt for Kamara at that point. God knows how much he must have felt playing in that arena. It was just the whole episode was just so depressing. And we're wanting UEFA to do more. They won't. They don't have a track record of doing anything. I mean, Cadella get a 10-game ban, Kamara get a ban. It's amazing to think Kamara's going to be banned again after being on the receiving end of this. It's just horrendous. And like Jonny says, the two Prague clubs are both equally as guilty for me, and they should be punished severely. Even more so Sparta, but with the disguise, thinking we'll just bring children in, trying to dupe UEFA, thinking it's a good thing. And obviously there's adults there, there's chaperones, and the kids have been told to boo. You're not telling me that the youngsters are going in there with a mindset, oh, we'll boo this guy. So it's come from an adult somewhere, or adults. So it really is depressing stuff. But I don't hold out much hope that UEFA will do anything with regards to this, which is equally depressing. We see the players with the "say no to racism" on their sleeves when they play in these competitions, but it's just empty slogans in effect, because they don't really do anything to tackle the issue.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, thanks, gents. We'll leave it there. If you're watching on YouTube, folks, remember to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you get notified on every video that we do. Remember, you can subscribe to the Rangers Review for just £1 a month, as it says at the bottom of the screen. That's top quality journalism every single day, top quality articles every day. We've already got a piece from Stevie Clifford up today, Stats Bomb stuff to follow for just £1 a month is pretty good value. We will be back, what day is it? Friday. So we'll be back on Monday. Rangers again in action at the weekend. So we'll be back with all of your review of the game. Hopefully a more positive outcome for Steven Gerrard's men. And until then, have a good weekend, and we'll speak to you all together again on Monday. Thanks very much.